Hi everyone, this is Emily and I'm a digital transformation consultant at Hyperbots. I'm very happy to have Claudia on the call with me, who is the managing director at Ikigai. It's really great having you on, Claudia.
Hi, Emily. Thank you for having me.
Claudia, the topic that we'd be discussing today is redundant and duplicate GL codes in the chart of accounts. And without, wasting everybody's time, I'll just dive right into the first question, which is why do redundant and duplicate GL codes exist in a company's chart of accounts?
Well, I would say that one of the major reasons is lack of standardization in the creation of the GL codes. Many companies don't have a standardized processes for this very important process. So some departments might just create codes on their own without a centralized team, a process that directs them how to create them. Another reason why we have redundant, I would say, is mergers and acquisitions. You have two different companies that they merge, and now you have two charts of accounts. You need to have a very good process to map the accounts and make sure that you don't have redundancy when you combine these companies.
Got it. So, Claudia, would you be able to provide some examples of common redundant or duplicate GL codes that you have encountered?
So some examples that are probably the most common are office supplies. You have, for example, office supplies, administrative costs, printing supplies, stationery. So a lot of these descriptions are basically the same, but they're created multiple times by different departments, and then you have the entries putting in different accounts. That creates a lot of complexity for teams in the FP&A when they're doing reporting, because now we have several accounts that mean the same. Another example is travel expenses, right? If you break it out now too much, then you're gonna probably not be very accurate with the actual expenses. For example, meals and entertainment, you have domestic traveling, international traveling. So sometimes it's just simplicity is the best. If you can have one line, but if you really want to go down to have subcategories, you can be very mindful of what those subcategories should be.
All right. So, moving ahead, Claudia, what are the best practices to avoid creating redundant or duplicate GL codes?
I would say implementing a charts of account governance framework, basically standardize the process to what is the centralized team that is putting together the codes, who's doing it, when they're doing it, how they're doing it, making sure that there are audits, either quarterly, semi-annual, to make sure that there are no redundancies with the codes. A centralized team is important and a system that can actually have the governance of these codes. Making sure also naming conventions, right? It's important to make sure that there is a standards not only for the numbers, but also for the descriptions. So now we just don't have these long descriptions that are not easy to follow and to manage from a reporting perspective.
Got it. So, bringing AI into the equation really quick, how can AI help in identifying and eliminating duplicate or redundant GL codes in the chart of accounts?
Well, AI can understand the descriptions, understand patterns, and also make recommendations. So you can use large language models to make sure that the chart of account is analyzed. And by doing that, basically, you can determine which charts of accounts are duplicate, which ones can be consolidated, for example, clustering, reclassification. So AI can tell you which accounts are very similar and can be consolidated. For example, marketing, digital marketing, and other type of marketings can be consolidated into one. Also, it can give you semantic similarity detections. So for those descriptions that are very similar can say, hey, these two accounts are very similar, you might be able to consolidate them. But again, AI provides recommendation. It's very important for a team to follow up if those recommendations actually make sense.
Got it. So, just to utilize your expertise, Claudia, how would you recommend implementing an AI solution for a company that is looking to reduce redundancy in its chart of accounts?
You can have AI system solutions that connect with your ERPs, and they can basically have that audit done automatically. Another way to do it, making sure that you follow the policies of the companies, is using the large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, but making sure that when you're actually loading that data into the system, follows the company's privacy for the data and all the policies. But by doing that, you can, as a model, basically say, can you analyze my charts of accounts? Tell me which accounts are duplicate. Tell me which ones I can consolidate. You have to be specific and clear about the prompts, but these models are very good at analyzing this type of data, and it will provide recommendation that tells you which one you can combine and which ones you can eliminate. So by doing that, then you can have that information, move it through a governance team that can decide if these recommendations make sense and which charts of accounts, which goals can be eliminated, consolidated, and have an audit on those recommendations. And making sure that once you have a sign off from the leaders and the users of the information, then basically you communicate the changes and make sure that you monitor this information often. Charts of account is something that is not seen as an important process, but it is a very important process because it triggers all the financial reporting from there. So if you have a bad setup in your chart of accounts, then your financial reporting can become very complex, and it creates manual efforts from our FP&A team and other reporting teams afterwards.
Got it. Thank you so much, Claudia, for these insightful answers. It's clear that, with the right tools and best practices, companies can significantly reduce redundancies and maintain a clean and efficient chart of accounts. So thank you so much for speaking about it. It was really great having you.